Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Johansen, your Chief of Police here in the city of San Bruno. Many of you may have seen my video last week, the I Love You video as it's come to be called. And rightfully so, there was a little bit of criticism following that about being more practical and explaining to our community the things we're doing on the heels of the tragic killing of George Floyd to make for a better department and a better community. And so I'm recording this video in an effort to address some of those concerns and let you know a little bit about what your police department is currently doing. So let's begin by talking about some of the initiatives that the police department has undertaken in the last week or so here in an effort to address some of the concerns being voiced by the community. First and foremost, we've begun a comprehensive review of all of our departmental policies, and we're starting at the top with our use of force policies. This review will include some comparison against some of the concerns that have been raised by groups like tWait and that movement, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. We're also working very closely with the city manager to facilitate his review of all of our department policies. And this effort will ultimately culminate in a public report that is made available to all of you that will deal with the things we uncovered in this process and the changes that we're making. Our detailed policy review also includes working closely with national and international chiefs groups to ensure that we're making changes that have a much more wide-reaching effect than just our own community here in San Bruno. We're also working to start what we're calling a listening campaign in San Bruno, and this is designed to create some informal groups that will give previously underrepresented segments of our society a voice and align directly to the Chief of Police as we evaluate how we police our community. We'll also be working to expand our peer intervention program, mirroring programs like the EPIC program from the New Orleans Police Department, which has proven to be very successful in creating a culture in which cops are more willing and able to intervene when they see abuse of police power. And finally, while all of our use of force data is appropriately reported to the Department of Justice, we'll be working on creating a comprehensive use of force report specific to the San Bruno Police Department and making that publicly available through our website. Over the past week or so, we've received a number of inquiries about the 8 Can't Wait campaign. If you're not familiar with 8 Can't Wait, this is an initiative aimed at generating 8 changes in police department policies that are expected to significantly reduce the incidence of use of force within the ranks. So I'll take just a moment here to speak to the 8 Can't Wait as it pertains specifically to the San Bruno Police Department. The first policy change suggested by the 8 Can't Wait campaign is to ban chokeholds and strangleholds. While the San Bruno Police Department technically has allowed these holds in policy, it has never been our practice to utilize them. Nonetheless, in the last 24 hours, I have issued a formal order banning use of these strangleholds in the San Bruno Police Department. The second policy revision sought by 8 Can't Wait is to require de-escalation practices. At the San Bruno Police Department, this is something we already do. De-escalation is required throughout our policies and is something that we regularly train on and practice for. The third policy revision sought by 8 Can't Wait is to require officers to give a warning before firing shots. Our policy does require that officers issue a warning prior to the use of any deadly force, whenever practical. But it does also allow for some circumstances in which a warning simply cannot be issued before action must be taken. The next policy reform in 8 Can't Wait is the requirement that officers exhaust all potential uses of force prior to moving to deadly force. Our policy is very, very clear that the lowest possible level of force is to be used in all situations as long as it can reasonably resolve the conflict. So officers are required to exhaust all practical means prior to resorting to lethal force. The fifth component of 8 Can't Wait involves a duty to intervene and says that all officers should be required to intervene if they witness police abuse. This is and has for a long time been an instrumental part of San Bruno Police Department's policy. The sixth component of 8 Can't Wait is to ban shooting at moving vehicles. San Bruno Police Department's policy generally prohibits the shooting at or from moving vehicles, but it does allow for extreme circumstances in which doing so might be necessary. The seventh policy revision sought by 8 Can't Wait is to require a use of force continuum. As previously mentioned, officers of the San Bruno Police Department are required to use the lowest feasible level of force in order to overcome resistance. But a use of force continuum implies that an officer must use each level of force before accelerating to the next, regardless of the level of force being presented against them. This is obviously problematic in the event that, say, an officer is being actively shot at. It simply cannot be required to go through verbal commands, gentle touch, use of striking weapons, use of taser at each step before they're able to return fire and defend themselves. The eighth component of 8 Can't Wait is to require comprehensive reporting of any use of force incidents. The San Bruno Police Department requires a standalone use of force report to be generated anytime an officer uses force in the field. That report is generated by a field supervisor, passed all the way up through the ranks to the chief's office, and if there are any potential violations of policy, an immediate internal investigation is initiated. If there are any potential violations of law, the case is immediately forwarded to the district attorney's office for independent investigation. In closing, I'd like to reiterate what's previously been said, that the men and women of the San Bruno Police Department openly and unequivocally condemn the actions of the officers in Minneapolis and any abuse of police power. Hopefully this video has helped to illustrate that many of the reforms sought on the heels of the tragic killing of George Floyd have already been implemented here in San Bruno. But nonetheless, we hear you, we are listening, and we understand you're calling for greater transparency and for a discussion about needed police reforms. We are very much committed to keeping open the lines of communications that this tragic incident has created. That being said, I ask you to please know that the men and women of the San Bruno Police Department are truly wonderful human beings and exceptional people who are deeply committed to your well-being and to protecting you in a manner that you want to be protected. We will continue to earn the trust you provided to us contact by contact. Thank you very much.